Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling overconsumption.
Oh, yeah.
And
The big one.
yeah, and we've got like a really interesting mix of sources today. We've got, a study from Nature Communications that talks about the environmental impact.
Right.
And then some really cool stuff from the Journal of Consumer Research on how societal norms actually really influence our choices.
Mm-hmm.
And we're even going to touch on
A little bit more.
a little bit on the idea of subtle energies and how that might all play into this.
That's right.
So
Okay.
I think our mission today is to not just understand the science behind why we overconsume, but also to give you some actionable steps that you can take to make more mindful choices.
Yeah, I think that's really important because it's easy to talk about these things in the abstract, but when it comes down to it, it's those individual decisions,
Yeah.
right? It's what we choose to do every day that really adds up. And that affects not only ourselves, but also the planet as a whole.
Yeah, it's like that butterfly effect, right?
Mhm.
Like if I'm like, oh, I'll have that extra latte, it doesn't feel like that big of a deal. But then when you multiply that by millions of people.
Millions of people, exactly. That's why it's so crucial to even understand what overconsumption really is.
Yeah.
And what it is not. And the research that we're diving into today really defines it as kind of using any resource, whether that be food, information, energy, emotions, even excessively, beyond what we actually need.
Okay, so that definition kind of broadens it a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, when they think about overconsumption, they just think about buying too many things.
Stuff, yeah.
Like clothes or gadgets.
Material goods, right?
Yeah.
But overconsumption of information, think endlessly scrolling on your phone.
Oh, yeah. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, and that's a big one these days, right?
It's huge, yeah.
And it's really important because this idea of overconsumption, even of information, is linked, as we see in this Nature Communications study, to serious environmental damage.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about clutter in our homes.
Yeah.
It's about the strain that it puts on the entire planet.
Exactly.
But how does all this affect us, on a personal level? If I'm over-consuming information, how does that affect me?
Well, think about how you feel after spending hours scrolling on your phone.
Mhm.
How's your mental state?
Oh, drained. Yeah.
Drained,
That's
anxious.
Yeah.
That's that cognitive overload in action,
Oh, okay.
and is impacting our ability to focus, to make good decisions, even to process our emotions effectively.
It's almost like your brain gets full,
Yeah,
and then you're just running on fumes.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you make these impulsive choices that maybe if you were in a different state you wouldn't make.
Yeah,
So then that kind of brings us to the next thing, right? Societal conditioning.
right.
How much control do we even have over our choices?
Yeah, how much of it is actually us and how much of it is external factors that are influencing us, kind of behind the scenes, nudging us towards overconsumption.
Right, those ads that are
Targeted ads.
yeah, they're reading my mind.
Yeah, they're getting really good. Or that feeling of, keeping up with the Joneses.
Oh, yeah.
We've all felt that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But societal conditioning is much deeper than that. It's about the norms and expectations we're exposed to, really from a young age, from childhood.
Right.
And there's this fascinating study from the Journal of Consumer Research that found that people are way more likely to make, let's say, unhealthy food choices
Okay.
when they see other people around them doing the same thing.
Really?
It's that subconscious pressure to conform.
Oh, I've totally experienced that. You're at a party, everyone's grabbing pizza, and then all of a sudden I want pizza even if I wasn't even hungry before.
Yeah?
My willpower just goes out the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's not just limited to food. Think about even traditional gender roles.
Right.
How they can subtly shape career aspirations, especially for women.
It's there's this invisible script
Yeah, there is.
that we're all given, and then we just follow it.
And we're not even aware of it half the time. We just
Yeah.
kind of go along with it. So how much of what we consider our needs are actually just echoes of these societal expectations?
Oh,
That's a deep question.
that's a good question.
Yeah. It's really interesting when you think about it, how much our surroundings actually influence us.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the people around us, but our physical environment too.
Right.
How our space is set up
Mhm.
can actually prime us. to make certain choices.
Okay, so you're talking about more than just like societal pressure.
Right, exactly.
It's about like the actual physical space.
The physical space.
Colors, sounds, all.
Exactly. And this is where environmental priming comes in.
Okay.
There's this whole field of research that explores this idea. For example, studies have shown that just being in a cluttered room can actually increase feelings of stress and anxiety.
Really?
Which can then lead to impulsive decisions.
Oh, so like if my desk is a mess, I'm more likely to like stress eat a whole bag of chips.
Well, maybe not quite that directly, but there is a connection there.
Okay.
Because when we're surrounded by chaos, our brains are working overtime to process all that information. Visual information, sensory information.
Oh, okay.
And that can deplete our mental energy.
Right.
And make it harder to resist temptation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I definitely feel more scattered when my space is cluttered. It's like harder to make decisions.
Exactly, yeah.
So how do we apply this whole environmental priming thing to make better choices?
Well, it really comes down to creating spaces that support our well-being. So that means natural light,
Oh, okay.
calming colors, minimizing visual clutter.
Right.
And then, this is a big one, bringing in the power of nature.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because I've always felt better after being outside.
Right.
But is there science behind that?
There's actually a lot of research behind that. Yeah, studies have shown that even short amounts of time in nature, like just a quick walk in the park, can significantly reduce stress levels and improve our cognitive function. One study even found that being in nature can actually lower our cortisol levels.
Oh, wow.
Which is that stress hormone that gets us all riled up.
So basically nature is like a big chill pill.
It's a giant chill pill. Yeah, sign me up.
Sign me up.
But it goes beyond just relaxation too, right?
Yeah.
Researchers believe that nature actually provides this mental restoration.
Oh.
It gives our brains a break from the constant stimulation of modern life.
Right.
And allows us to kind of reset and recharge.
Makes sense.
And when we do that, we actually have more creativity, more focus. We can make better decisions.
Wow, so like a hike in the woods could actually help me make better choices.
It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, for sure. And, speaking of creating that space for a mental reset, have you ever thought about going on a retreat?
I've always been curious about retreats. But
Yeah.
like part of me always thought it was kind of woo-woo.
Woo-woo. Yeah.
Like what's the actual like science behind it?
Well, retreats really offer us this chance to disconnect from the daily grind
Yeah.
and really focus on self-care, introspection.
Right.
And the research from the Journal of Positive Psychology actually shows that retreats can lead to significant improvements in our emotional regulation
Okay.
and our resilience.
So it's like stepping away from your daily life.
Yes,
And having the space to actually process your emotions.
exactly. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
When you're away from those constant demands and those distractions,
Right.
you actually have that time to think about your values, develop coping mechanisms.
It's like hitting the pause button so you can hit the refresh button.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just relaxation either.
Yeah.
Retreats often incorporate practices like meditation, mindfulness,
Oh, right.
which have tons of benefits. Less anxiety, improved focus, greater compassion, all sorts of good stuff.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it, but like, what if you can't go on a retreat? Like, how do you get those same benefits in your everyday life?
That's the key question, isn't it? And there are so many practices we can incorporate.
Right.
And one we haven't talked about yet is the power of sound.
Oh, okay. Like listening to calming music.
That's part of it,
Okay.
but we're going to explore something a little bit different.
Okay.
The unique benefits of Indian classical music and mantra chanting.
Oh, okay. Now you've piqued my interest.
Yeah.
I love music,
Yeah.
but I haven't really delved into those two.
Okay, well, Indian classical music is known for these really intricate melodies, complex rhythms, and this improvisational nature.
Cool.
And research from the Journal of Music Therapy has shown that just listening to ragas, which are traditional melodic frameworks, can actually induce a state of deep relaxation, reduce anxiety.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just about calming the mind, but actually engaging it in this new and challenging way.
Right, right. So it's like active.
It's active listening.
Yeah.
And then there's mantra chanting,
Right.
which has been practiced for centuries across all sorts of spiritual traditions. And research shows that this repetitive chanting, that nature of it, can have this really profound effect on the brain. Calms the nervous system, reduces stress hormones. It just promotes this sense of peace.
Wow, this is all starting to sound like a pretty good recipe for a more balanced life.
It is.
Nature, retreats, music. But like, let's be realistic. We can't all just like ditch our responsibilities and run off to a meditation ashram.
Right.
So how do we like make this stuff practical?
That is the key question, isn't it? Like, how do we take these powerful concepts and make them relevant to our actual day-to-day choices?
I feel like we've talked about so much.
Yeah.
Like, all these layers of this overconsumption puzzle, you know?
Oh,
Environmental impact and how our choices are shaped by all these things we don't even think about.
right.
But I want to talk about solutions. Like, how do we actually shift from just mindless consumption to like a more conscious way of living?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And it starts with awareness, I
Yeah.
think. You know, recognizing those autopilot patterns that we've been talking about.
Right.
And then it's about making intentional choices that actually align with our values and our well-being. And there's a term for this that researchers use. It's conscious consumption.
Conscious consumption. I feel like I've heard that phrase like a lot.
It's become kind of a buzzword.
Yeah.
But what does it actually look like, in practice,
Yeah.
in real life?
Yeah, like how do you do that?
Well, it's about asking ourselves some key questions before we buy something, before we consume something,
Yeah.
before we even engage with something.
Okay.
You know, does this thing actually serve me?
Right.
Does it align with my values?
Yeah.
Where did this product come from?
Ooh,
You know,
interesting.
what was the impact of its creation on the environment and on other people?
Right, right.
So it's really about moving away from that I want mindset to an I choose mindset.
I choose. Okay.
Yeah, and understanding those ripple effects of our choices.
Okay, so it's not about like depriving yourself or living like a minimalist.
No, not at all.
It's more about just like being mindful
exactly.
and making choices that like really add value to your life.
And actually, research from Frontiers in Sustainability highlights how conscious consumption is not just about our own personal well-being, but it's about contributing to a more sustainable world,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
a more just world, right?
Right. But it's hard because there are so many messages coming at you all of the time,
It is.
telling you to buy things, consume things. So how do you stay on track?
Yeah, it takes effort, definitely.
Yeah.
And it takes practice.
Yeah,
But think of it like building a muscle.
yeah.
The more we exercise that conscious consumption muscle, the stronger it becomes.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what can we do practically? Let's talk about some simple steps that we can start taking today.
Yeah, give us some actual things we can do.
Okay, so first of all, minimize those triggers that we talked about.
Okay.
Reduce your screen time,
Yeah.
especially social media.
Yeah.
You know, all those platforms that make us feel inadequate and make us compare ourselves to others.
It's so true.
Unsubscribe from those tempting email lists that are sending you all those sales and promotions.
Oh, that's a good point. It's like when you see it, then you want to buy it.
Exactly, yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. Love it.
And remember how we talked about the impact of our environment.
Yeah.
You know, declutter your home, create that calming space.
Right.
Bring in nature, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Just like a little walk.
A little walk in the park can make a big difference.
I'm already feeling better just thinking about it.
I know, me too.
Uh,
And then there's gratitude, which is so powerful.
oh, yeah.
You know, take a few moments each day just to appreciate all the good things in your life,
Right.
no matter how small they are.
Yeah.
It really shifts our mindset from scarcity to abundance.
That's good.
Yeah, and it helps to reduce that constant urge to seek more and more and more.
Yeah, because it's easy to just get stuck focusing on what you don't have.
It is. It is. And of course, there's meditation.
Okay, yeah.
Even 5-10 minutes a day can make a huge difference.
Okay.
It helps us to cultivate self-awareness, to reduce stress, and to just become more present.
So it's not about becoming like a Zen master.
No.
It's more about like those little steps.
Small, consistent steps, yeah.
Okay.
And remember, this is a journey. It's not a destination. We will have times where we slip back into those old patterns,
Oh, definitely.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
The key is to just notice it without judgment and gently bring ourselves back.
Back to that conscious path.
Exactly.
Well, we've talked about a lot today in this deep dive.
We have.
We started by exploring, the science behind overconsumption,
Yeah.
the environmental impacts, all the subtle ways our choices are shaped by things we don't even realize. And then we talked about some really, I think, powerful solutions.
Yeah.
From conscious consumption to environmental priming to the benefits of nature and retreats and even sound.
And how we can move from that mindless consumption to a more mindful, balanced way of living.
Yeah, I feel inspired. I'm ready to make some changes. How about you?
Me too, absolutely.
And we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
What resonated with you the most from this deep dive? And what is one small, actionable step you can commit to this week to move toward more conscious consumption? Let us know in the comments.
Because remember, every choice we make no matter how small, can make a difference. By becoming more conscious consumers, we're not only improving our own well-being, but contributing to a healthier planet
Yeah.
and a more just society for everyone.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep making those mindful choices.
Absolutely.